Good evening. I'm hereby calling to order the January 18th, 2024 meeting of Sebastian City Planning and Zoning Commission. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Ms. Matthews?
Present.
Ms. Cottenberg?
Here.
Mr. Carter?
Present.
Ms. LaRusso?
Here.
Ms. Kinchin?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, our announcements for the evening. Commissioners Sarah Battles and Dennis Haddocks are both excused from tonight's meeting. Alternate members, Mr. Roberts and Ms. Giese, who is not here yet, will be voting. We do have a quorum in case Ms. Giese got confused. So, Mr. Roberts, you're voting tonight. Okay. Public hearings have been scheduled for the next regular meeting date of February 1st, and the election of the chairman and vice chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission will be scheduled for the January 1st meeting as well. Those are our announcements for tonight.
Ms. Chairman, I would
Yes.
also like to make an announcement. Even though she's been with us for almost 6 weeks, I'd like to introduce our new Community Development Director. This is the first opportunity that you're getting to meet. This is Ms. Alex Bernard. She's been a welcome into the community and into our department and helping us get settled. And I wanted to introduce to you tonight for your first meeting.
It is a pleasure to welcome you, and I understand you have been hard at work already.
Well,
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, the next order of business is the review of the minutes from our last meeting of October 12th, 2023. You've all had an opportunity to review them. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, I will call for a motion to accept them as submitted.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion, pardon me, that we accept the minutes of the October 12th, 2023 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board as written.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. We'll do this by voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. The next order of business tonight is a quasi-judicial public hearing. I'm hereby opening the quasi-judicial hearing, and I'll be ask the members of the board, have any of you had any ex parte communication with any parties regarding this? No.
No, ma'am.
No? Yes.
Did you want to say item 6, local planning agency,
Pardon me?
number 6 on the agenda?
Oh, well, I can mention that we do not, number 6 on the agenda is local planning agency LPA public hearings, and there are none tonight. Thank you. Okay. Okay. I will read into the minutes This quasi judicial hearing is a site plan, a major modification requested by Crail Manufacturing, Phase 2 of 7756 130th Street, 40,000 square foot warehouse building with associated site improvements. It is heavy industrial land use in the industrial zoning district. We'll ask our attorney to swear in any who will give evidence or testimony this evening.
If you're non-attorneys and intend to give testimony before the board tonight, please raise your right hand as you have. Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony you give before the board tonight will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God or on your oath? Yes. Thank you. And state your name and who you're with before you speak to the board. Thank you.
Okay. Now we will ask the applicant to make the presentation, please.
Excuse me. Good evening. My name is Wesley Mills with Mills Short & Associates. I'm the engineer record for the project. Really, as far as the presentation goes, we got a chance to look at planning staff's presentation, and we feel that it's a great summary of the project. So I'm here more today to just answer any questions you have about the project.
Thank you. They always do a good job. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, staff, please.
Dory Bosworth, Community Development Department Planner. This is a application for a 40,000 square foot warehouse building. This is phase 2 of this project. Phase 1 did not come before you. It was did not include any new impervious. It was kind of a change of use. I'll go into that, but it's an older site. The site was here from 1980. Atlantic Golf Communities used it for their staging area when they took over the general development construction of the Highlands, and this was their area for their staging, for their fill. The train come by, bring in fill, their tractors and things like that. It was bought later by Ford Wire, who was there for about 15 years. They manufactured electrical components. And then over the next few years, there was a couple different businesses in there. The current owner, Mr. Robb, purchased this in 2022. So when he first bought the building, he came in, we come in, you restripe the parking, some of those dumpster enclosures. He also added inside, though, he added some watchman living quarters. Nothing that tripped us to require that plan to come into full compliance like phase 2 is requiring it to do. So we were able to, administratively review that. The Watchman is not a full apartment for full-time living. As I understand it, as explained to us, the owner will be up here a certain amount of times during the week. He'll stay there. Anybody that's supervising the assembly and the activities in the business will maybe be there on the weekends. So there are a couple different bedrooms, but they are considered Watchman's Tower and not a residential living unit. Phase 2, I apologize. So they are still completing those Watchman Tower units and some of the improvements that they had to do inside for fire compliance and building compliance. I probably will, after my speaking, if maybe Mr. Robb wants to get up and kind of go into a little bit more details of what he's actually doing in there with the bicycle storage areas and then his prefab housing assembly. And he can kind of, if you have more questions on that, on the actual activities, he can go into that. But this was for the phase 1 building. Phase 2 came in. It is going to be more of just that, a warehouse for some of his assembly housing materials. And as such, at that size, 40,000 square feet, that required the site to come into current compliance with stormwater, drainage, landscaping, parking. And so that is the application that is before you tonight. Let me see. I'm going to quickly just kind of go through the staff report to make some of the information part of the record, as this is quasi-judicial. The site itself is 10.34 acres. Their building coverage, even with these two, with the existing large building and the new building, still only comes to 16.6%. 50% is allowed per the zoning district. 80% impervious, they're not even close, they're at 37.2%, and their open space is 62%. So this is a fairly large site, even with these two large buildings, there's a lot of open space being maintained. They do meet all of the required setbacks. The parking calculations are on sheet C2A of the site plan, which total parking required, we broke down the specific uses and calculated parking. They need 71, they're providing 72 spaces total. With regards to the stormwater, on the existing, the sheet that shows the existing site, you'll see north of the buildings, there is a wetland area, an existing kind of pond. There's a wetland area in the southeast corner that is going to be modified. They have worked with St. John's and FDEP to determine the parameters of that, you know, that they can fill in that wetland area. Didn't require any full mitigation. It's going to become a dry pond, and that is going to connect to an existing wet pond that is to more of, if you want to say, the southwest corner of that property, with some outfall into the 130th Street ditch. So that has been approved already by FDEP. Our engineer, consulting engineer, and city engineer have also reviewed that drainage plan. A traffic impact study, a statement was submitted, and that information on page 6. Their estimated daily trips will be 385. 400 is that threshold to require a full traffic analysis. So nothing that required that full. And as far as we know, talking with the county at this point, they are not requiring any additional off-site improvements to 130th or sidewalks or anything like that. If the site is adjacent to where the landfill is, it's definitely it's adjacent and south of the landfill. Not any traffic at this point that required any off-site improvements to 130th. At this time, no signage is proposed on the site plan by the road. The additional considerations that we went into a little detail on page 7, section 21, is with any project, there is always a soil report, a geotechnical report done by KSM or a similar company. They have determined in a certain area where the new building is going to be placed that there is an area that has some organic materials underneath that surface, some muck, something that is not going to be conducive to placing a building on top of that. And so we have looked into that. They have suggested that they do some demucking. They'll pull all of that organic material out, and then they will have to put some other material there. We are requiring that KSM kind of oversees that activity, and that they'll have to do a certified final kind of report that the area is okay for placement of a building, and we'll need that finalized report before we issue the building permit. Nothing that's unusual. It doesn't occur on a lot of properties, but it's nothing that hasn't occurred before on some other sites where they do this demucking and dewatering and get that area prepared. They didn't have a specific area of how big it was. So what we had too, you'll notice on the sheets, we asked them there's a geotechnical note that has been added on certain sheets in the site plan so that the contractor is aware of what they will need to do. Also, because of some of the history of the businesses that were on that site, the city required a phase 1 environmental to make sure that there wasn't any oil spills or areas of gasoline that hadn't been cleaned up. And we included the conclusions in our staff report, and as you can see, everything is clean. There was nothing that needed to be reported to FDEP. So with that, staff feels that the proposed site plan is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the land development code. And we do have 4 recommended conditions of approval. Most of them are standard with when we'll issue land clearing permits and building permits. I'll just read them into the record quickly. Number 1 is a separate dewatering, demucking permit is required that includes plans detailing the proposed method and equipment for dewatering and where the water will be directed to and the location of the piles. Receipt of a certified final report from KSM regarding the demucking and removal of the reported organic materials before issuance of the building permit. We will require a final scrub, or we recommend to require a final scrub J and gopher tortoise survey, along with any gopher tortoise relocation permits if necessary before the land clearing and dewatering permits can be issued. And and some comments, there was a few remaining small comments from Indian River County regarding the IRC right-of-way permit that they'll need for the outfall. And as you'll notice on phase 2, there's a new emergency access for vehiculars that they require a right-of-way permit for. We require a copy of that before the land clearing permit can be issued.
Thank you. Commissioners, this is now your chance to ask questions of staff or the applicant. And we'll start.
Okay. All right, thank you, Madam Chairman. First off, this is like a very nice project, and we appreciate bringing that into the community. I guess one quick question that I do have, how many jobs do you think will be generated with this project?
So, we're planning on somewhere between 15 and 25 jobs in the next 5 years.
Okay.
So that's the plan.
How about
Maybe.
initially?
Initially, 5 or 6, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We're really just getting started, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I was curious about that. As I mentioned, it looks like a very nice project, so congratulations. The
Thank you.
community will appreciate it. And I'm glad you're investing in our community.
Appreciate
That's all
the
my
support.
questions, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Excuse me, just for the record, will you repeat your name for?
George Robb, R-O-B-B. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Robb, what actually are you going to be manufacturing?
So, we're manufacturing factory-built modular housing.
Okay.
That's the project. Does that help?
Yep.
I can go into as much detail as you'd like.
Nope, that's
Okay,
fine.
all right.
That's all I have.
It is an industrial addition to an industrial existing project, and I have absolutely no questions.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just had one quick question. Has there been any concerns by the neighbors in that area about adding more manufacturing to that street?
There's been no calls or questions to staff, at least to the city.
No
I do
complaints?
know the adjacent to the south, that is industrial also for the city. There's an industrial park there, subdivision in the city, and then to the north is the landfill. But that zoning in the county is also industrial.
Okay.
So it is on the west side of the railroad tracks. You may probably be able to see this new building from the rear of the St. Sebastian site. It's kind of adjacent to that across the tracks. But it's definitely in a industrial area. There is, again, to the south, even a little bit farther down, there is some conservation area that the county owns, their conservation area, which is why we're requiring that scrub jay survey and, of course, the tortoises. But it is totally surrounded by industrial. Across the street is also industrial that's in the city, so no concerns for compatibility with the adjacent properties.
On the west side of 130th Street there, those houses, aren't there houses over there as well?
There are some in the area, but not across from this site.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And also, for the record, though, too, we did send out surrounding letters, whether you were in the city or county. So those property owners, and if they are residential, they did receive letters of this hearing. And like I say, we had anybody reach out or at least come to the office to see the plans. There may be some people here that maybe want to speak, but nothing up to this meeting that we know of.
Okay, thank you.
I just had a couple of questions. On the scrub jay and the gopher, has there been anything preliminary done or at this point, or no?
Yes, there was an initial that we required the application, but going through our reviews, and I think if Wesley wants to report on that, I don't believe there was anything on the scrub jays. There may be some tortoises.
Good evening. Yeah, so we did a full assessment for the gopher turtles. We did determine that there were some burrows on site. Fortunately, most of them weren't in the location of where we were proposing the building. And so we'll have to do an additional study, which Dory is indicating earlier, is that's required just to start construction. So, so we will do that second study. We did get the final scrub jay report this afternoon, and there were no reports of scrub jay found on the property. So we will submit that report tomorrow to the planning department.
Okay, so that it'll be on file, the preliminaries? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And the other thing that I did notice there was a note to make sure that there was some, I know that you're staying with septic because the sewer is not feasible in the area, and there was a note to make sure that we're existing and other things that you have to go back through that. Has anything been done on that or no?
Yes, there was a lot of coordination as it relates to the utilities. We worked with FEC in Indian River County, and both agencies just determined that it was not feasible, and neither wanted us to proceed with hooking up to sewer. So next steps really would be a permit through the contractor once we get through this part, and the building permit released would be a Department of Health septic and drain field permit for the new.
St. John's is involved with that as well for wetlands, since you have wetlands in there, or no?
So we don't have wetlands on site. We have a pond on site. So so I just didn't want to get that confused with like wetlands that has habitat and any kind of conservation or mitigation that goes along with it. It's just an existing open pond that we're modifying.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I now open the floor to anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this application. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not that tall. Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Helene Castletine. I'm the Vice President of Economic Development for the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce. We've been working with Mr. Robb since last summer, and I will say that we're thrilled that Mr. Robb has decided on Sebastian, Indian River County, for his new operations. And while 24 jobs may not sound a lot, that's our niche here in Indian River County, and those are the kind of businesses that grow here in Indian River County, and they're good paying jobs too. So I just wanted to, for the record, show our support for his project, and thank you for all your support as well, and the planning department.
Okay,
Thank you.
Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to this project? Seeing none.
Anybody on Zoom?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is anyone on Zoom?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any additional information that the applicant would like us to have? And do you have anything to add to the summary?
I do. It's an addendum, and I do apologize.
Thank you.
Because Wesley did bring up, you mentioned utilities. And even though they are going to get, because sewer is not available, and they'll be able to get most likely a septic permit, water was a concern, as I noted, in Phase 1 and in Phase 2, to meet some of the fire compliance codes, you have to have fire sprinkler systems. And so bringing the water line down 130th was a great cost. I think working with Wayne and the engineer, they came up with a good resolution to it. There's actually a mini water tower on the site. If you noticed in Phase 1, there's a round circle. They actually have, I don't know if it's there now or going to be installed, but it's the water tower that holds the water so that it's able to meet the fire sprinkler requirements to meet fire code. So they're not bringing in any new water lines, but what's existing there certainly has worked with the Health Department and will meet code for that. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Time for our deliberation, and this time we'll start on Sherry's end. No comments? No? Okay, no comments, no comments?
Nothing for me.
Just one question, Mr. Robb. On your modular homes that you're building, what kind of price point are you looking at on those?
I'm sorry, well, he doesn't have to answer that at this point. If he can, if he want, but we're beyond board questions. So it'd be up to the applicant, but we're actually past that point.
I'm sorry.
I think she just said.
In the quasi, procedurally, we're past that point.
Thank you.
But if he wants to answer, he can.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Okay.
That being the case,
We're really still in the initial phase.
Okay. I was just curious. It's not not an issue, just was curious. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
Okay, I will now call for a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion that we, accept the site plan major modification for Creel Manufacturing Phase 2, 7756 130th Street, 40,000 square foot warehouse building with associated site improvements to include, the 4 recommendations that, staff has, entered into the minutes. I do, recommend that we support that.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. I'd like a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Ms. Kinchin,
Yes.
Ms. Cottenberg,
Wholeheartedly, yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Ms. Matthews,
Yes.
Ms. LaRusso,
Yes.
and Mr. Carter.
Yes.
That is 6-4-0 against. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, good luck.
And thank you for making Sebastian your home. Okay. We have no unfinished business this evening, and we have no new business this evening. Therefore, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.